Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News.
The political sphere in Nigeria has been clouded with transitions left, right, and center. From the formation of the Reformed All Progressives Congress faction by aggrieved members of the ruling party to defections by members of the lower and upper chambers of the National Assembly, including the Senate President who defected from the APC to PDP. Now, joining us today to discuss the Nigerian political and economic landscape in the face of the gale of defections is Professor Pat Utomi. Professor Pat Utomi is a professor of political economy and former presidential candidate. But just before we go to Professor Utomi, who is now in the studio with us, news reaching us indicate that Senator Godswill Akpabio has tendered his letter of resignation as minority leader of the Senate. His letter, dated August 4, was sent to the Deputy Senate Minority Leader, Senator Emmanuel Boasha, and other leaders of the National Assembly. So that's the latest development, and we also have indications that he will officially tomorrow declare his membership of the All Progressives Congress. Prof, good to have you on the program. Good to see you again.
I'm glad to be here.
Some people have been teasing me. They've been saying, we're turning this program into Patito's gang.
Yeah, because you both used to host
we
the
need to
show.
then do the signature thing. We
Let's do it.
back.
I love it. Well, welcome back.
Well, you go first.
Okay. So, Mr. Utomi, the first question is, what do you think about the political situation we're facing here in Nigeria?
Well, in some ways, it's sad. In other ways, it's part of an evolution. My beef with the political class in Nigeria is that we often emphasize power over purpose.
Okay.
Why do we have political parties? Why do we seek to get elected into positions? Now, today, we have all this uncertainty. And what seems to be missing? The people. The very essence, the purpose of it. Power is driving this person, self-interest is driving that person. Where are the people? That's what counts, that's what it's about.
Well, Prof, let me ask you this question. In 2014, 2013, up to 2015, you were part of the process, one of the leaders that put the APC coalition together.
Correct.
When you look back, do you feel, do you regret, being part of that process?
Not at all, not at all. You see, one of my biggest, if you will, things is institution building. The political party process does not work until you have a strong enough opposition that can lead to change in government if one is not delivering. And my whole commitment from 1999 through till 2015 still is to ensure that we build political party systems that work. And achieving a change of government was a critical part of that. So, big success that it happened in 2015. You got to then ask yourself, what happens next? Are you the happiest the day after? There are things that happen in the evolution of systems. If you let's go religious for a second. The Jews, they're in Egypt. They're going through all these challenges of slavery.
Correct.
They move into the to get out of it. They head into the promised land. Then they get in the wilderness. They begin to murmur, this God that brought us here. They want to go back to Egypt. So you got to ask yourself, why did we need change? How do we go to the next phase? Obviously, the first day, you may not be happy with what you've got. You got to ask yourself, how do we ensure that we get exactly what we want? But the tendency in Nigeria is, well, let's run back to Israel or to Egypt, or let's get the new thing. Why don't you start another party?
No.
Why do we have backbenchers in the British Parliament? Because there are not going to be people happy with everything that the government is doing. And they force change within their party from the way they act. Sometimes they even force their own party to fail so that there can be internal processes that bring the party to a new focus. And you go back to the days when Labour struggled so badly with the left, running the way it was running, until the Tony Blair, Brown coalition within the Labour Party. This really created a third way. and Labour refocused and began to move in direction. So that will continue to happen as part of the evolution of political parties. The only problem I have with the way it takes place in Nigeria is that there seems to be no principles driving many of the players. Where are you moving from this party to the other? What values, are represented in the new place you're going to that are attracting you? People can change parties. I remember, interestingly, many years ago, I was in Washington. I have a Republican friend who served in the Reagan White House. We went to lunch at the Republican Club. And we had lunch with, guess who? Jeff Sessions, Senator, who is now Attorney General.
Okay.
And after lunch, my friend Michael was driving me to Union Station to catch a train to go to New York. And as we were driving up, this old man was just walking across the grass. And I said, this foolish man. I said, wait, that was the guy who had just defected from being a Republican the week before to becoming an independent, moving the majority to the Democratic Party.
Okay.
And he was walking freely in Washington. Nobody was abusing him. No guns were. This is kind of culture.
Yeah, well, I understand the point about evolution.
Right.
But there are some Nigerians who say, look, what we're witnessing is a betrayal of the Nigerian people.
Correct.
A complete dumbing down, and that the ruling party has failed. Now, a lot of people are moving from the APC back to the PDP. It's not as if they are even forming a new political party. Where are you at this moment? Are you still with the APC, or you have also defected?
I believe that if you have certain ideals, certain values, you stay somewhere and make that place work for you. The APC we try to create is a party that essentially is social democratic in nature, that believes that you can, in changing culture, change a people and make it happen for them. You're liberal. As different from a conservative who says just stay the way things are, conserve, and things will work. My view is that the PDP is the conservative establishment, and that the APC should be that party of social engineering, of people who believe in the people and walk through direct stimulation of the people for human progress and their dignity.
You have such vast knowledge in the politics of Nigeria. There are some indications that you are going to be running for government. Is that correct?
Well, you see, the question I've always said to myself is, how do we tame this monster?
Okay.
At the point, there was a top-down sense. If we get it right at the top and go down, I've lost that sense that we can fix Nigeria from the top.
Okay.
I think that we must go down closest to the people. If you look at Nigeria, the way it was really coming, it was bottom up. In the 60s, in the 50s, it was the subnational governments that created opportunities, created development, created all of those things. And I think that the time is now to apply the principle of subsidiarity and go down to lower levels of government and begin to give people the quality of life that their dignity deserves. And so, with lots of people coming to me and saying, what's going on in your home state? The place is a complete and thorough mess.
Yes.
Why will people like you stay out there and your state is deteriorating this fast?
Yes.
And they particularly point to what's going on in Edo, what's going on in Anambra. One of the things that we've come to a sense of is that professional politicians are a major problem to our system.
Yes.
So the more we move to people who are not professional politicians, better for the system. In fact, I've gone ahead to argue that anybody who is in public office, anybody who has earned an income for 12 straight years without going and coming back, and is not a civil servant in public life, is actually a social embarrassment, because this person is a parasite. If you look at the way Nigeria is set up, people who have gone from a commissioner, governor, senator, these people have learned nothing. We know how we are governed, how poorly people who are in government use capacity to make things happen. You've not gone out to go and draw new wisdom. You've been in that arena for 12 years. You're going to be a real burden on the system. So maybe constitutional reforms and all of that going forward will get to a point where we'll prevent people from staying that long in government.
Yeah.
Well, Prof, I recall that in the past, under the platform of Concerned Professionals, which you co-founded, you talked about professionals also going into government, taking positions, not just being mere critics or, standby commentators. Now, you want to be governor of Delta State. How far have you gone with that? And what platform are you looking at? Is it the APC, or you are using your old platform under which you ran as president, the ADC?
Yeah. Well, clearly, like I say, there's an evolution of my engagement. We, as concerned professionals, we created the APC, the ADC engagement to say, look, Nigeria, we're not going in the right direction. After we pulled out, in 1999, we thought we had fought for the military to leave, and we thought that we should leave the political scene to politicians, but it didn't quite look like they were getting it right. So we said, okay, let's go in. And the ADC idea came up. But we then began to say, after that, 2007, we didn't have elections in Nigeria. It was a complete mess. International observers have all their reports on that. And we thought, okay, let's create a movement of progressives. Chief Anthony Anauro led the initiative, and what was the social democratic mega movement started. In the end, the APC crystallized from a continuation of that process of trying to bring progressives together. If I leave that, I would have to leave partisan politics. So that's my last bus stop. I have to leave partisan politics. If there's need for reform, we must fight for it within the APC and make it happen. Yeah. But the critical question is actually where we've gotten to now in Nigeria, people are becoming party neutral. Because how can you tell the difference between the parties when people are going in the morning they're APC, in the evening they're PDP, following morning they're APC? So, question is, what is the program, what is the strategy? You get to a state like Delta with all its endowments. Delta was part of the great Midwest that led Nigeria in everything, literally in everything. Right. In education, why were the super permanent secretaries predominantly from the Midwest? Why were today Delta is an embarrassment at the bottom of the heap in terms of education, in infrastructure. Anambra used to be laughing stock. If you left Anambra and you entered Delta, I said, thank God. Today is the exact reverse. If you cross the Niger, across you see these expressways, these lights everywhere. So what do you begin to do? Only 3 points are necessary to have a complete turnaround.
Okay.
1, end poverty. How do you end poverty?
How do you do that?
Education, which is about teacher quality and relevant education, not just education for certification, but education that's relevant based on the factor endowments of the state that can push development. Healthcare. People who are educated and not well are just not going to make it happen. So education and healthcare are very critical. Then you turn to infrastructure. Infrastructure in Delta is in complete decay. Hardly is there a motorable road that you can find in Delta. Whereas you drive across to Anambra, all the rural areas, the roads are all smooth, and Delta gets like 17 billion when Anambra gets like 2-point-something billion. The difference is incredible. Yeah. And yet you have these levels, so something is wrong. So we've got to exorcise that demon from Delta. That's really is an exorcism exercise to start with. When you get that exorcism done, then this special infrastructure that you have to put in place. And one of the problems I have with people who think in Nigeria is, oh, how much money is there for infrastructure? You don't need the government's budget for infrastructure. In today's world, one of the leading thinkers on capital today in the world is a French economist called Thomas Piketty. And one of the points that Piketty made is that capital has never accumulated in human history the way it has accumulated today. And that's true. There's plenty of capital. Money is around the world. The question which Piketty makes, and people talk of Piketty as the new Marx.
Oji, you heard that?
Yes.
I hope you have plenty of cash.
The problem Piketty points out is that all that capital is in a few hands.
Yes. So
the real challenge, therefore, is do you know how to find those few hands? And that is the trick. Yeah. That's where global players, fortunately like myself...
You have still not answered my question.
I know, I was just going to say that.
What platform are you planning to use in Delta State?
Oh, your APC, okay.
No, there's no question. That's why I made it very clear.
Okay.
I am never going to leave the APC.
Very good.
The day I leave the APC, I've left partisan politics.
All right, so as a political economist, how do you see the microeconomic environment in Nigeria?
Today.
Ooh.
Right.
You know, many of our problems are self-inflicted,
Okay.
unfortunately. Because of the nature of our politics savvy, we are creating an environment of high uncertainty.
Yes.
And when there's uncertainty, two things happen. You either don't invest, or if you invest, you hedge. When you hedge, it involves costs. So you have high transaction costs. When you have high transaction costs, you can have competitiveness.
Yes.
That's why what we must do is calm this environment. We must build strong institutions that prevent politicians from being the nuisance that they can be to development. Because most of Nigeria's problems are inflicted on ourselves, by us, by our politicians, who don't think enough of the bigger long-term and focus too much on short-term self-aggrandizement. But you know what? We are Africans. The African
We are
philosophy says
Africans.
Ubuntu.
Yes.
I am because we are.
Yeah.
And somehow the common good seems to fall behind as we begin to focus on self and this very short-sighted way of thinking. And that's what our problem is. So the macroeconomic environment is challenging. Very, very challenged right now. The doing business indicators are not the way they should be.
Yes.
And they can be made that by just serious engagement and people recognizing that there's a bigger picture.
Well, Prof, I would like to ask you a number of very specific questions. I mean, earlier on this program, we said we've just been told that Senator Godswill Akpabio, former governor of Akwa Ibom State, PDP Senate Majority Leader, has now tendered his letter of resignation and is due to cross carpet, so to speak, to the APC tomorrow. He's not the only one who is moving back and forth. You've talked about principles, yes, but what exactly do you think is the meaning of these back and forth defections, people running from one place to the other?
We should make these guys go and do real work. Their problem is unemployment. How can I show you? They're bored and they're just looking for personal space within the political system. That's why I say, after 12 years, they go and work.
Yes.
That's what we need in this system.
Well, except that some of them don't have any real
They don't have an address.
They have no
Let me
skills.
also ask you about what is now known as Adeosun Gate, the issue with Kemi Adeosun, the Minister of Finance, not having, a real exemption certificate, dodging the National Youth Service, and then remaining completely silent, and even the government itself, being so acquiescent in this case, which involves forgery, alleged misrepresentation, and just complete perjury, so to speak.
But I really don't have the facts.
So
There's some things that I don't pay attention to because they just consider nuisance. Like many things are going on in my head.
Yeah.
If I distract myself with those kinds of thoughts. But look, if the political system doesn't have integrity, everything is gone.
Yeah.
So we must show integrity. We must communicate to people that we are who we say we are. That's very fundamental.
Well,
Very good.
Before you go, Prof, what's your assessment of the Buhari presidency so far? Many Nigerians seem to be disappointed. Some people even say, oh, they entered a one-chance bus. But as somebody who was part of that process and who believed in President Buhari and who helped to push the idea of change, when you look back, what do you think really is the big problem with the APC or with the government, with the Buhari administration?
Yes,
to
the
put it
government
that way?
process.
But you
correct.
see, there's a fundamental problem with leadership in Nigeria, and that is not just about the Buhari administration or Goodluck, Jonathan administration. There's a fear of thinking people.
That's the fundamental problem?
Yeah.
The fear of...
Fear of thinking people.
Okay,
Anti-intellectual.
Anti-intellectual. Nigerian political class is anti-intellectual.
Yeah.
correct.
And you can't make progress unless you have thinking people
Okay.
in front of you. If you go back to your laws, look at all the people around there. They were mainly professors. They are
Right.
locals. Pardon me, that does not go for Buhari, but you look around most politicians today, what you have around them are pimps.
Exactly.
And thugs. So that
I
generally...
hope they are listening to you in Abuja.
Well, Professor, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. It's such a pleasure to have you. It's time now for another short break. When we return, Stephanie Coker will be here with a review on what's trending. Stay with us.